what we're gonna do is, for us, because some of us are not as familiar with commercial, what I'm gonna do for your pleasure is just kind of step back. Here we go. 19,000 years ago, when I was one, yes guys, in personal lines as well as commercial, it was very easy to write coverage because many years ago, just like personal lines, in commercial, we'd go to the shelf, we pull a policy off the shelf, we put a business name on it, we go, here you go. Well guys, that was really good that we were able to do that until, yeah, one of my insureds came along and said, Diana, you know what? I was reading my commercial policy and I was noticing right here in my commercial policy that you're covering a bridge. I don't own a bridge. Then right here, you're covering a road. I don't own a road. Then why are you giving me coverage for stuff I don't own? And the insurance was when we came out and I went, oh, well, let me tell you. Yes, because there must be a business out there that has a bridge. There must be a business that has a road. He said, are you telling me that you're using my money for somebody else? I said, well, you know, the whole concept of insurance is spread the risk of my money. No, 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 he said. You take my money and put it aside for me. I said, well, if you have a loss, we got to take, no, no, no. I said, look, it's a little teeny penny. He said, if it's a penny too much. So back then, oh yes, and now today, guys, we had to literally come up with a plan to be able to make him happy as well as many more. So what we chose to do is to allow the insurance industry to build the commercial policies page by page by page. That's what we get to do. As I can say that though, let's get started by asking you to sit back and just watch the show, because if you are the business owner and I'm your insurance wizard of the world, I would say, well, what do you want to have coverage for? You say, well, Diana, I have a building and contents, and I, oh, that's okay, because I have a commercial property policy to take care of you there. Oh, but I forgot to tell you, see, the commercial property policy only covers stuff within 100 feet of your premise. See, you take your stuff more than 100 feet off the premise, it's not going to be covered. But, oh, don't worry, because we have an inland marine policy to take care of. Oh, but business owner, you know what I forgot to tell you? See, the sign outside your front door is only covered to $2,500, but don't you worry, because I have another sign policy to take care of you right there. Oh, but business owner, you know what? I forgot to tell you also, see, your computers, you know, not so good, but don't you worry if the commercial property policy doesn't do a good job. We have another form of coverage right here called electronic data processing, and we can take care of that. Oh, but business owner, you know what? The commercial property policy does not cover your accounts, your bills, your currencies and deeds, or nothing like that. But don't you worry. Yes, we can also sell you the crime policy to take care of you right there. No worries. Oh, but business owner, see, all those in blue are to pay you for your stuff. But you know what, business owner? Because you're a business owner, people think you have like a whole bunch of money, and people are so happy today. And if they ever slip and fall, they're going to sue you. But don't you worry, because I have a general liability policy that I can take care of you right there. Oh, but business owner, you know what? See, that policy does not cover you in the event that you are, well, if you get sued for what we refer to as errors and omissions. But don't you worry, because I have a professional liability policy to take care of you for E&O claims. I can do that. Oh, but business owner, you know what I forgot to tell you? You hired this manager and this supervisor, and you know what they did? They caused discrimination and sexual harassment, wrongful termination, and now you're being sued. But don't you worry, because I have something called employment practices in order to be able to take care of you right. Oh, but business owner, you know what? If an employee gets hurt on the job, see, we don't have coverage for that, but if I want coverage, where do I need to go? Workers' compensation, exactly right. Gotcha. Oh, but business owner, you know what? That's only going to pay if your employees get hurt on company time. See, what if they get hurt on their own boating accident or something? See, that's not covered. But don't you worry, because I have a health insurance policy to take care of you there. We can do all that. Oh, but business owner, see, all that you're talking about is not going to take care of your automobiles, because you know That's a whole separate exposure than anything else. And if you want to take care of your automobiles, I need to let you know that if you have automobiles in your business, specifically for your business sake, we can go ahead and sell you the business auto policy and take care of you under that category for no problem. Oh, business owner, I forgot to tell you, see, that policy doesn't cover if you're in the business of selling cars and repairing cars and parking cars and storing cars, but don't you worry, because I have a garage policy for you. Oh, but business owner, you know what? If you're in the business of hauling goods of others for hire, see, that's not covered either, but don't you worry, because I have a trucker's policy to take care of you there. Don't you worry. Oh, but business owner, you know what? I bet you think you're done, but no. You still have more money in your wallet.
He does?
I love commercial. It's like really good. And you know, just to be able to pay for all the premiums that I'm charging you for your insurance coverage, you better be selling a lot of stock and inventory just to come up with the money to do that. Oh, but business owner, you know what? I know. And you love those big machines who make all your stock and inventory, don't you? Those big machines are phenomenal because they work and work and work and work. And you know what? Those big machines never have to stop and go potty. Aren't they phenomenal? And those big machines never go to lunch either. Aren't they amazing? Oh, and they don't take it. You know what? Those machines don't get pregnant. Aren't they wonderful? Those machines are great, absolutely. If those machines could break down, don't you worry though. I have a breakdown policy to get them up and rocking again. And why do you need them up and rocking on a regular basis? Because you know that you need to have all the money you can because you went out and bought yourself a corporate jet. But don't you worry, because I have an aviation policy to take care of you there. And why did you have to have a corporate jet? Well, because you had to fly to your private island, and sitting there waiting for you at your private island was your corporate yacht. Yes. And I have an ocean marine policy to take care of you right there. Oh, but if you're going to be able to afford all these, you better be selling all those widgets. I can tell you that. And then you thought, well, who's going to buy all my stock and inventory? And then you came to your senses, and you do like your federal government. Don't you love your federal? They're amazing. Yeah, they're buying everything. Isn't that wonderful? That if you want to sell your stuff to the federal government, you have to be bonded. No worries, I got those too. No, ladies and gentlemen, that's not all the commercial forms. I ran out of overhead. I love commercial. Isn't that good? All right. Well, guys, I color-coded on the board just to kind of get you thinking so you can see where I'm at. Now, my colors on the screen are just a little different than they're on the board, so work with me as you will. The top right corner, or going up to the top right corner, that is really blue on my page. But anything having to do with property all the way through crime is designed to pay you, the business owner, for your stuff. All those forms are for you. However, everything in red on the board, pay other people. Whether we defend you, whether we pay your employees, everything is to pay others. Green on the board, obviously, is all about your autos, and the bottom right corner of your screen, that's all about miscellaneous stuff that we want to take care of. I know you're looking at this and you're going, Diana, are we going to have to go through every single one of these squares before tomorrow, before we leave tomorrow? Yes. Yes. Yeah, we have to. Yes.
Can you repeat yourself? What did you say? Blue was?
The top corner over there, blue in property, is all about paying you for your stuff. Bottom right corner is purple. The purple is miscellaneous, different types of policies out there. Thank you. So guys, we have a lot to talk about just by just by this absolutely gorgeous artwork. So what we're going to do is we're going to show you where we're going to get started. And I know, and you know, if you're the business owner, I, the agent, want you happy. So you'll keep paying all your premium to me so I get commission. So, sorry, I apologize, I'm focused. Anyhow, so what I want to do here is make sure that we start going through this area, which of course is the property section right there. We're going to start with that one square and see how to build it. Remember, we told you have to build it page by page by page. That's what we get to do. In reference to that though, what I'm gonna ask you to do is to go ahead and turn in your book now to page 31, and you will see at the top of page 31 is talking about the different pages that go into the commercial property section. If I look at it, remember, we're gonna have to make sure that we include all the important forms. So let's start. The first form that's gonna be added to this one is common policy declarations. And guys, the common policy declarations is all about who is the buyer of the policy. Give me information about the business, tell me about what their name is, tell me about their address, tell me about effective date expiration, a little explanation of what does that business really do. That first page is all about who is the business and what do they do. But building it, you have a second page in there called common policy conditions. And when I talk about conditions, what I'm going to ask you to do is to notice that these are the rules of the policy, guys. Conditions are the rules of the policy. There are many conditions, but the one that's most important right now is the cancellation and the non-renewal clause. And I'm so excited to tell you that you already know 79% of it. Isn't that wonderful? How'd I come up with that? All right, well, let me tell you why, guys. Because this particular category is almost just like homeowners and dwelling property. You guys remember all of it evolved around under and over. How many days, please? Yeah, guys, under and over 90 days was the key concept, just like we did in residential property. So if your policy is enforced under 90 days, I'm excited to tell you that all of the notice timeframes are identical to that of residential property. We said if there's misrepresentation, it's still 0 days. We're out of here because you lied to us. We're gone. If you fail to pay an additional premium notice, we're out of here. You fail to comply with any other things we've asked, you're out of here. But what I want to show you though is, look at the square where it says non-payment of premium. How many days notice did we tell you all non-payment of premium was? 10 days. But for any other reason, because maybe you didn't maintain your property or whatever it may be, any other reason is 20 days notice. That's what we're going to do. Failure to comply, 10 days, but, oh no, that's 10 days. Failure to comply, 0 days, right? So let's do it again. Misrep and failure to comply, no prior notice. Non-pay, 10 days. Any other reason, 20 days. Good news, it's identical to personal lines. Where we mess you up, though, is not the under 90 days. Where we mess you up is the over 90 days. Because if I remember personal lines, I told you if it's over 90 days, we've got a 120-day notice. Not so much for commercial. Why are we only giving commercial 45 days notice? And the answer is because commercial can look for their coverage during business hours, and most people who are working are not permitted to do personal things on business time. So we want to give a little bit more time to the residential, more so than commercial. Please don't let them mess you up, guys, because you know they're going to do exactly that. If they ask you about the cancellation clause under commercial, they're going to ask you about the 45 days and 120 days. Well, wait a minute, Diana, wait a minute. There's one category right down here that says 120 days. Yeah, but look what it says, residential commercial. What kind of structure can we call residential commercial? Good. Anytime we're talking about that condo associations, or another one is apartment complexes, guys. If you have an apartment complex, then we already know that that is someone that is expecting to have the right to live there so that they have to be able to put a roof over their family's head. All of that is residential commercial, which basically says we need to give them more time because they are allowing individuals to live in those structures is what they're actually doing. Good news, guys, if you really get a question, they'll take the under over 90 days, they'll mix them up. You got to make sure, again, you know. But more importantly, there's another one where they'll take the over 90 days and mix you up between the 45 and the 120. So be very careful as you're looking at this in the state test. However, guys and gals, that's 2 of the pages, but we're not done building this policy yet, because in this policy we also have commercial property declarations. If I talk about commercial property declarations, guys, you can see right here that this again is an information page. But this information page this time is all about where is your property. Give me the construction of your property. How much is it going to take to build it back? A lot about Tell me about your property. Whether you're covering building or contents, just describe it to me. That's what we want you to know. But yet, moving down to the next category down, or the next row down with all the squares, the next square that you're gonna see right here is commercial property, and we're gonna call that conditions. Commercial property conditions, guys, basically says to me that commercial property conditions, again, means rules of the policy. You can see down here, it's the deductible, and you can see the standard deductible looks pretty close to personal lines, doesn't it, guys? Personal lines was $500, this one's $500, nothing real exciting there. Do I care about hurricane deductible? Not so much. But as I'm looking on the board, guys, I can see that I'm really trying to build these policies to help have the different pages in them so that you have everything that you need. But what I want to tell you, Mr. Miss Business Owner, is everything in the first 4 squares, you, the business owner, have no right of choice. Matter of fact, guys and gals, the first 2 pages, which are in black, are in every single policy form. Whether I'm talking auto or liability or property, doesn't matter. Those first 2 pages are common to every single policy. The 2 blue pages are unique to property, but either way, they're information or rule pages. You, the business owner, don't really care so much about those 4 pages. You, the business owner, told me you want some choices. So therefore, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to the next section, and I'm gonna tell you that the last 2 pages, you, the business owner, have the right to choose what you want to buy. Please notice in the 3rd square, it does say there's something out there called coverage forms, and there are 9 different coverage forms. You have the right of choice. Reason that's important for you is you can pick any one or combination of those 9 coverage forms. You make the decision. Be prepared to pay for it. It's a smorgasbord. You get to the end of the line, you're ready to pay for what you need. But just like we talked in homeowners and dwelling property, if you have damage to your stuff, we're not paying a dime of it unless it's damaged by a covered peril. Well, ladies and gentlemen, in this particular case, we have something called cause of loss. And many of you have already seen it because in the dwelling, we have the basic, and then, of course, even in the dwelling, we have the broad, and even in the dwelling, guys and gals, we also have the special as well. Reason this is important is because I know that if you're the business owner, you don't need all of them. You're the business owner, all you're doing is deciding which of those that you really think you want. Only one of the cause of loss. Remember, the basic is the least amount, broad is the basic plus more, special is basic, broad, and a whole bunch more. So yes, guys, out of this entire page, your job is to know that as we look at this, you're not going to have too many decisions going on here, guys. You're going to only have decisions in the last 2 squares that are down there. When I'm looking at the last 2, oh, wait a minute. Let me repeat what I just said, guys. I just said what's in black on the board are those pages that are in all policy forms, because it's information as to who bought the policy and cancellation non-renewal. However, what's in blue is, of course, unique to property, but it's all about your property, and that's what we're doing. The green are the only choices. I know you're looking at this page and you're going, okay, do I need to know how to build a policy for my state exam? Nah. So surely I've color-coded for a reason, and the reason I color-coded is because what I want you to know is the only things that are important for your testing pleasure is actually those things that actually are in red. Yes, guys and gals, what I want you to see is that, yes, the cancellation and non-renewal clause is definitely going to be on your state exam because it is unique to Florida and it is a Florida statute. So you definitely have to know the cancellation and non-renewal. However, guys, you will also see that I traced over deductible in red because they do want you to know the standard deductible. But it's okay because it's like the other ones you've already seen. But where it gets a little tricky is if you look at the fact that I crossed over cause of loss in red. Why did I do that? The reason that I did that is because I started the whole course saying terminology will make or break you. Do you remember saying that, guys? Terminology will make or break you. The reason this is important is because if they ever use the word peril, peril is used for residential property. If they ever use the word cause of loss, that's commercial. So if I said under the basic peril form, you immediately know that's homeowners and dwelling, right? But if I say under the broad cause of loss, then you should have gone immediately in your mind to commercial, because that's our language that we're using over there. Pretty interesting. So the first page, this page 31, not so, again, not so much of a problem, as long as we understand where our priorities are. But what I do know is that if I go down to the bottom with those those 2 squares that are in green, surely you can see there are 9 coverage forms. Do we have to cover all 9? You bet. How much fun is that? We're gonna have a lot of fun covering the 9. However, my friend, turning to page 32 is the first of the 9 forms and the most popular of the 9 forms that are there. If I'm looking at these 9 forms, what I want you to see here, the first one says building and personal property coverage form. When I look at building and personal property coverage form, what I'd like to have you see right here is just by title, it pretty much tells you what you have the right to buy. Did you hear me say the right to buy? You don't automatically get building coverage. You don't automatically get contents. You have to show you have an insurable interest in it. So let's assume this building is yours. You own it, but you rented it to Donna Fink because you are amazing. Silly yo. Yes, and while you rented it to me, yes, you know that I can't buy building coverage on this building because I don't own it, right? I can't buy coverage on something I don't own. However, you may want it, so you'll just go ahead and activate premium on the declaration page for the building only. And I, Central Insurance School, would buy a totally separate policy for all my contents in the structure. That would make it pretty good, giving us the opportunity to be able to kind of see how we're looking at right here. In the meantime, guys, what I really want to see down here is this is really good, but you could own and live in the structure as well, and work out of the structure as well. Why is this important? Because what if Central Insurance School owns this building? Well, if we own the building, now we need building coverage plus we need contents, don't we? So any of those at the top of the page, you have to put a premium on the declaration page to have the right to the coverage. Even though it's worded there, the premium on the deck page activates it. Well, let's go back in your memory to homeowners and dwelling. Maybe you guys remember I told you under homeowners and dwelling, we're covering the 4 walls, roof, and anything permanently attached. Do you remember that? We're doing the same in commercial too, guys. As long as it's permanently attached, it's part of the structure. I need the limit high enough, because if the limit's not high enough, now we're gonna be penalized by co-insurance. And you remember we talked about all of that as well. Pretty cool that we have that capability. But what I am gonna ask you to know is that when we talk about it, please notice it says permanently installed. But it's, yes, it's machinery and equipment, plus it's fixtures, and whether those fixtures are indoor or outdoor, we can take care of them. I like that, but let's talk about it with the understanding that you are the proud owner of a 5-star hotel, restaurant, convention center. If you own a 5-star hotel, restaurant, convention center, what type of equipment would be permanently attached to your with your structure? Say, what is it?
Ovens?
Good. Anything having to do with kitchen equipment, is that right? Kitchen cabinets as well, because they're bolted on. What else? Air conditioner, love it. Keep going. Good. Any type of stuff in the bathrooms because they're permanently attached, right?
Signs?
Pardon me?
Signage?
As long as it's bolted to your building, signage would be included too. Good. Oh, by the way, guys, what about boilers for your hot water to heat all those rooms? What about elevators? If you miss one elevator is $250,000 to purchase. If you have 4 of them, you're just a small $1 million underinsured. Is that pretty scary? Why is that important? Because when I sit back and look at it, you better make sure your limit's high enough, because if it's not high enough, we're penalizing you by co-insurance, and that's why we're concerned about that for sure. In the meantime, though, don't stop, because all your cooking, your dishwashing, your laundry, but more importantly, look right on the second line in parentheses, fire extinguishing equipment as well. whether it's the exit signs or whether it's the pull fire alarm signs. Yes, even guys, the fire extinguishers, we're gonna call that part of your building. The reason is because you need them to qualify, because the fire department has no sense of humor if you don't have them. So all of that's great. But it's not only building coverage you need, because you need to worry about contents coverage. And we don't call it contents here, we call it business personal property. Whether the tables, the chairs, the podium, the overhead, guys, the phones, the computer, the camera, anything else we have, dishes, anything, towel sheets, bedding, all that. Everything is contents. But even if I'm looking at contents, the only way we're doing it is if it's covered within how many feet of the premise? 100 feet of the premise, exactly right. You take your stuff more than 100 feet off the premise, I gotta go to inland marine for that. Because I'm only covering around and on your premise, which is pretty cool. In the meantime though, if you are the proud owner, ooh, good Jason, is fixtures in a building, are they fixtures considered building and property? Your answer is if the fixtures are permanently attached, then they're building. If the fixtures in your property are not permanently attached, we're gonna call them contents. For example, this particular overhead that I have right here on my desk is not permanently attached, it's a plug-in unit, but because it's considered electrical, it's also a fixture. But that's gonna be considered contents. Lighting on the ceiling up here, definitely no doubt that's building. So we can depend on permanently attached or not. Along with that, we also know that you are the proud owner of a hotel, and not only are you worried about your stuff, but you rent those rooms out to other people, and when they bring their stuff, they're expecting their stuff to be safe. Silly you rented one of the rooms to do a thing, and I went to McDonald's and got lunch, but it's a law, you're supposed to eat your french fries before you leave and everything, and you know what happened was, somebody called me, and when they called me, I never got to eat my french fries, and I drove back, and by the time I got to the hotel, they were really, really cold. I can't eat cold french fries, so I'm gonna heat them up, yeah. And you know what I did to heat them up? I pulled out the lady's hair blow dryer. Yeah, you bet. Well, I wasn't gonna heat them up well enough, so I picked up one and stuck it right in the nozzle of it. Isn't that wonderful? Sorry. Anyhow, so what do you think? Because I'm so good, I did not only burn up my french fries, I burned up your hotel, but not even your stuff. Your stuff is covered under business personal property, but I also burned up the stuff in the other guest rooms that belong to your guests. Your guests have no sense of humor. They want their stuff replaced, and surely you know you don't want to have to worry about Diana paying because I'm a deadbeat. You know that. So if you got personal property of others, your policy can take care of that guest stuff in the guest rooms, which is pretty good. We can do that. So out of everything we've talked about so far, yeah, you have to activate them by premium, yet they still have to be within 100 feet of the premise, no problem. But anytime we give you coverage, we always have to take some away. Look where it says property not covered, guys and gals. When I say property not covered, you can see that there are some things we're not going to cover. The first one says we're not going to cover foundations, which means support to hold the wall up. If I put a support to hold the wall up, it's usually under the ground. And since our earth moves, then sometimes that foundation has a tendency to crack or have caused problems. We know, and I know, that we don't want to be responsible for our earth moving, cracking your foundation. Because if we had to fix it, we literally probably have to tear the whole building down and start all over. And we never charge enough in premium to be able to do that for sure. But do make sure you put a star by retaining walls not being covered, because we want you to understand a retaining wall is not a seawall. Guys, a retaining wall is a freestanding wall dividing property line. And when I talk about retaining wall, I want you to know if it's not part of the building, we're not going to cover it. Now I know this is going to shock you, but when I went to McDonald's, number 3, no onions, Carmel Sunday, no nuts. Anyhow, so when I was driving, you can turn to the left and talk to those people in a box, but if you look over to your right, there's a 3-wall concrete building with no roof on it, and it's got gates in the front of it. What's behind those gates? Garbage. Yeah, the dumpsters. they don't want me seeing that garbage while I'm trying to order my number 3 no onions large Coke caramel sundae. Now that's bribing material. All right, well, why do you care, guys? That is a retaining wall. And when I say retaining wall, it could be that, it could be a freestanding wall, again, going around your complex for safety, security, or any. Yeah, no doubt, my friends, what we're looking for here is just to let you know that if I look at it, we don't automatically cover it. How can we cover it? The way we're gonna cover that retaining wall is a little different here than personal lines. You remember in personal lines, what we did is, in personal lines, what we had was a situation where if we had your structure covered, we had a little bit for other structures. Remember that 10% of coverage A? We don't do that in commercial. In commercial, every structure out there you have to list out as a totally separate structure. So if you have a hotel, that's building 1. You have a restaurant and it's separate, it's building 2. You have a convention center, if it's separate, it's building 3. Then you have a pool, that's building 4. Then you have a tiki hut, that's building 5. Then you have a gazebo, that's building 6. Then you have a retaining wall separate from your structure, that's building 7. So anything you want, you just list out, put a dollar amount aside, and that's how we cover it under these particular policies. In addition to that, though, my friend on the web said, gosh, Diana, you were talking about that retaining wall and how the retaining wall could be damaged and we may have to tear that structure down. Are we actually going to cover the structure? My answer is only if it's damaged by a covered peril. So if the cracking of the foundation is there, there is no covered peril for it. If in fact lightning hits your building, goes down and damages your foundation, absolutely we'll take care of it then, no problem, we can do it. Another one you want to look at is A, and A says that we're not going to give you coverage for your animals. So Rambo, the dog, that guard your property, we're not going to take care of them because you obviously know you have sentimental value for that, and that's the reason why we're looking at it. But if you have them up for sale, now we got you covered. So some of you in the classroom know we have a fish tank out there in the lunchroom out there, and you can see all those fish, well, if they don't hide, but if you can see them, those fish are not covered because they're just beautiful and they're not up for sale. However, how many of you have gone to Red Lobster? Anybody gone to Red Lobster? Yes, and they have that big bin out front, and all those lobsters are there. You go, I'm gonna eat you tonight. You don't see that? No. The eyeballs are looking at me going, don't eat me. Take the eyeballs off. I'll eat that sucker every day of the week, but it's no eyeballs. Are those lobsters going to be covered? Yeah, because they are up for sale. Is that right? There's stock inventory. We can do that. Don't worry about the U and the D. Oops, until you get to the second U. Put a star by the second U, guys. They want you to know that paved and unpaved surfaces are not covered. If you obviously are looking, you can see walks and patios, but also right in there paved parking lots. And guys, paved parking lots are not covered. The reason for it is we don't know what size you have. If you look at Central Insurance School's paved parking lot, it's a piddly little parking lot compared to the mall. Is that right? There's no way that I want to be paying a premium to help the mall put their parking lot back, because I don't got a little teeny one. They got a big one. So that's the reason we don't want to do it. Can you get coverage? Pay me more money, you can get coverage. But also, just like residential homeowners and dwelling, we're not covering the dirt, guys, because the dirt's always going to be there. Pretty logical there. You also can see the E says we're not going to cover evidence of debt, account monies or deeds, but you already know that because we already told you that you have to go to the crime policy in order to be able to pick up damage for your money, so it's better covered somewhere else. And the last one that you are interested in is trucks and automobiles held for sale. Why are we not covering it? Because you already know it's better covered somewhere else, and we don't want you double dipping is what we're looking for. So can I just sit? Pardon me? Oh.
P&C reviews it.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Thanks, Jeff. I appreciate it. Okay. In this particular case, what I want you to see here, guys, is now under this category, what I want you to see is that we said that we're not going to cover things, and let me show you why we're not going to do it. Either because we want more money somewhere else, or maybe guys, maybe because there's a policy to go by that better covers it somewhere else. So if you wanna buy foundation, just pay me more money, you're okay. If you happen to have a situation where I'm sitting here looking at the crime policy or the garage policy, again, you can buy it somewhere else, go over there. All we're saying is pay me more money or go to another policy and buy it, it's usually. So far out of that whole list that I just told you is not covered, the only thing you cannot buy is the dirt. Everything else you can get, you just can't buy the dirt. In the meantime, if you're looking at the first two categories, you can see right here, it does actually say at the top that we're talking about property covered and property not covered. Ladies and gentlemen, that's great, but there's a few more bells and whistles that we want to throw in here for you. If I'm looking at the bells and whistles, please notice there's something called additional coverages. When I look at these additional coverages, they're here, and we kind of had those under homeowners too, and everything I'm kind of talking about, we can just kind of relate to it. Please notice the first one says, we're not going to cover debris removal. What do you mean we're not going to cover debris removal? Well, you guys already know that, right? Haul away the damaged stuff so we can build back the good stuff as long as it's damaged by a covered peril. Pretty easy. So if you have fire loss to your structure, sure, we're going to haul away the damaged portion of your building, but here's the hiccup. For your testing pleasure, we have limitations. The most we're going to even consider eligible is 25% of the loss. However, should the loss and the eligible debris removal exceed the policy limit, what is the additional amount up and above your policy limit we're going to pay for? So, what do you care about for your testing pleasure? Guys, you've got to know the definition of debris removal, which means we're going to haul away covered property damaged by a covered peril. However, they want to know how much. And your answer is 25% of the loss is eligible. We'll pay the debris removal, but if it exceeds the policy limit, we're going to pay up to and no more than $10,000. Are we okay with 25% and 10 grand? Any questions? All right, look on down to the next one. You guys know this one too, and this one says preservation of property. Guys, when I talk about preservation of property, how many of you guys remember that I called it temporary location under dwelling? Do you remember? And then under homeowners, I called it property removed. Yeah, if you remove your property to save it from potential loss by a covered peril while you're moving it, while you temporarily store it somewhere else, we're going to cover it, and we'll cover it up to how many days, guys? 30 days, but under DP1, it was different than all others, and that was 5 days. Good. So, guys, every single answer for temporary location, preservation property, or temporary or property removed, every single one of those, your answer is 30 days except DP1. DP1 is 5 days, so pretty okay. Temporary location, property removed, preservation property. All of it's the same, guys. Just different. They're like triplets with different names. You know what I'm talking about? They're the same with different names. All right, now head on down with me and notice it says fire department service charge. Now, guys, this one is on your state exam in commercial. They will not be asking it in personal lines. How many of you guys are no? Remember, probably, I don't know, guys, 8 years ago, we had the right in Florida to vote for lower property taxes.